first I know that some people, maybe, I don't know, there's someone from Grupo Gestão here? Nowadays, no? But since the beginning, I know that Grupo Gestão was following the SDG challenge. And this picture is from 15 years ago, when we were just, you can also see how it was different, the logo up there. And since then, we were like working projects in real life, and was something that you start to realize how could be your professional experience and which kind of jobs you can do. So here inside, University of Brasilia, Industrial Engineering Department, this story started. And then, afterwards, I was working in the dump site with SLU. This is the last picture before closing. And this is something that I also share, like the best sunset in Brasilia is in this place. And this was the last one before closing. After this day, we didn't have any waste pickers anymore. All of them were working in recycling facilities with contracts and having all support during this transition from the dump site to recycling facilities. So at this moment, I was working with Paulo Celso. We were working deeply with social issues, and to see the picture helps. Thank you. And there, we could realize how is the status of our life, which kind of help we can do. And all of you here, and that's why this event is so important, you can decide to work with purpose. You can question why I'm doing this, which kind of mission I have, which kind of contribution each one can decide and contribute. So this is something important to realize. That's what I felt when I was working there. And then we just celebrate the end. But we knew that the way would be long. I know that today in the morning you were at Saint Copy. This place, when I was working there, was not ready yet. So I was in the process to build everything. And we still know that there are challenges and stuff that you may be working on during semester. So this was the first part. And in the end of this period, we had the second event here. That was in January 2019, when I was invited to explain a bit of the situation with waste speakers, what was happening, and then we just like following all the lectures and students here during this week. You can see how I'll be here also since the beginning, helping and supporting everyone. And this moment was the first opportunity to connect. That's why I'm so happy to be here after 7 years again with you. And then in the middle of the year, we had again in July, beginning of August, we had another meeting with waste speakers, with another group of students, with some students that were here in the previous edition as well. And at this moment, I was very close to move to Denmark. I was doing my master's here, and then at this moment, I got a scholarship to go there. And in Denmark was the place I could study circular economy deeply. So which kind of legislation was happening in European Union. Denmark also have a good connection for writing the law itself and regulation within universities. So that's something nice too, that you can work and study what you're applying in real life. And this was the end of this participation. We went to some waste speakers facilities as well. This one probably you have been already too. And then in the next year we went to a third mission together. This picture was in Sweden when we were visiting recycling facilities as well. So we had a group before going to Germany, and we had the opportunity to see different technologies and waste management systems, and how also the conscience of people change and make difference depending on the place you are. So Brazil will have a social issue huge. That's it's not possible to exclude this part. Maybe this is the most important that we need to focus on. But there we could get inspiration with kind of solutions they have already applied. So that's why this international cooperation is so helpful. And we had this edition also in Hamburg with professors and Grupo Gestão again. So it was very, very cold too. It was February 2020, a couple of days before the pandemic. So it was the last moment together, I would say, in person. We also had a visit to Airbus industry. It was very, very nice. And then I went to finish my master's. And why I brought this here? Because when I was working with the waste management system, I was focused on which kind of economic instruments we could use, which kind of social policy we need to develop, which kind of participatory process we need to build with them. So I had already big knowledge about this topic, but also I would like to bring this back to the industry. So that's why when we say from grave to cradle, usually we don't say in this sequence. We say from cradle to grave. But the idea is exactly to think in the opposite way. When we know which kind of disposal we have, which kind of impact we have in the end of life, we can realize how to concept new products, which kind of design, which kind of requirements we need to have in the industry, in the beginning, in the design, before producing something else. So that was the idea, and how this circular economy can help and contribute to achieve sustainable consumption and production. So here we also look at the consumption side, which kind of lifestyle we have, which kind of decisions we have in our daily lives. All of this is about circular economy. It's impossible to talk about circular economy if we don't talk about everyone, every choice, every kind of lifestyle you have. So this is something important to think about circular economy and how this is connected to. And then, when I finished my master's, I had this opportunity to work in a circular business model. So if I have a chance to write about a business case, I could use Origem, that's the company I was working. If we have people from Brasilia, maybe you have seen this before. It was an electric motorcycle produced in Brazil, developed in Brazil, and it has a special swap battery station. This one, the white box. So instead of plugging your motorcycle, you just can swap batteries. So that's why it was a product as a service. This is one of the concepts of circular economy too. So the idea was exactly to bring what I've learned and studied and wrote in my thesis to reality. So which kind of business solutions and technologies we can have to reduce, in this case, reduce greenhouse gases emissions, and also have a solution with less parts, with local production. So we had this in Brazil, and also to get more money for the people who were using these motorcycles too. So this was the startup I was working for 4 years, but we have a sad story now. We couldn't raise the money we need to keep going. So we had almost 7 years of operation, and then in the end we need to pivot the company. But it was a really good experience. In the end, of course, it was super sad. We had to find other ways to go. Some people were working with another company similar in São Paulo. We had the industry in Manaus that we need to sell. And most of the people were just searching new jobs. But the important thing here is just most of the people came from University of Brasilia too. We were together super technical to develop solutions in all kinds, so mechanical, electrical, production, all of them. And also we could see how it really worked for 7 years. In the end, we know that it's high risk, but it was a great experience, and having this startup knowledge also helped me to be where I am now. Why? Because the project I work now is one kind of project to have like companies like Origem working, surviving. So the project I work today is GIZ, specifically with circular economy. And some of the funny parts, in 2020, I wrote in my thesis that Brazil didn't have a national strategy for circular economy. This is the statement. And now I work with the national strategy for circular economy. 5 years after this sentence, I'm here working with this. And I'm here working with the government. So we have a partnership with Ministry of Finance in Brazil, Industry, Services, Trade and Development, Ministry of Environmental, but also SEBRAE, also CEPAL, ECLAC from the United Nations. So nowadays, I work with the same topic I was studying in Denmark. I was studying here in the University of Brasilia. And this is something that we believe now in Brazil, it's a really good moment to talk about. Since last year that we have the strategy, we have the plan, national plan, we have many efforts in this area, money and discussions. We had the biggest event last year in Brazil. The World Circular Economy Forum was here in São Paulo. So even though in Europe this topic is not new, it's been for a long time already, if you compare to Brazil, but now is a good moment to develop and go and move forward. And here are some images on the last event that we were in São Paulo too, Expo Catadores, that's specific with waste pickers, is the biggest event in Latin America. We also have events, of course, in the ministry, but other regional ones to promote and bring in all different areas of circular economy. It's a topic super transversal. So we have connections in different areas, and that's a bit what I'm gonna show. Okay, so I brought all the history before just to explain the topic itself. But the idea was not only to waste time or talking about myself, but showing how this kind of thought and thinking can change along the years. And nowadays I can see the difference of the choices I do in my daily life, how we understand better the challenge we have. And basically, to go now specifically to circular economy, what's the difference? We are used to live in linear economy. What is that? Oh, when you take, make, and waste. Doesn't matter what's going to happen. You just extract natural resource, we produce whatever we want, and then you just dispose of. Doesn't matter what's going to happen, we really don't care. This is what we call business as usual. This is the way we were used to live. And when we start to realize what is circular economy, it's just the way of bringing the resource inside, to recirculate the opportunities, to reduce the consumption. And then when we see the idea of refurbish, remanufacturing, sharing, how we can extend products' life, how we can repair something that is broken instead of buying a new thing, how we can manufacturing products with less parts, for example, how we can do shared economy. There are many different opportunities to work with circular economy. One of them is recycling, but we usually say that this is not the most important. It's not only about recycling, because usually this happens. Most of the people think circular economy is just recycling, and it's not. We use this reference to say that we have some steps and priorities too. So refuse is the first one. If we don't need, we don't consume, we don't buy, we don't make it. This is the most important, say no. You know, when you learn how to say no, this is something that you get freedom in your life. And then, okay, if you need to consume something, to buy something, but how I can reduce? There are some options that I can easily see that I reduce. Or how I can rethink the solution. Reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, recycle. So all of them is the idea of how to bring it back to the circle. How we can also, at the same time, when we say circular economy, we say circle as the idea of movement, of flow, of bring it back. But when we say economy, it needs to talk about supply and demand. It needs to talk about money. It needs to make sense. So the both words together, when you talk about circular economy, need to be something that it's profitable. We reduce the materials we need. We have all these considerations before building something, before building a solution. So the idea here for the projects you're going to have for the whole semester is how can you apply those concepts? And if you, when you're searching and finding solutions, you have this in mind, you can use this in your presentation. You can write this on the proposal you're going to have. So that's the idea of bringing the circularity into the topic. And it works in many different cases. This other image is, I would say, maybe the main reference, the butterfly. And we have two different cycles. It's from Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Probably is the most famous at the moment in the topic. They talk about cradle to cradle. This is the reference of the studies and the way that they do advocacy all over the world. They are also in Brazil too. And they have this reference of the biological in the left and technological in the right. So when we talk about regeneration, agriculture, which kind of bioeconomy we can have, Brazil is really good in this topic. We are just like trying to get the data information because it's not that easy. But how we can talk about biological cycles. And the other side is technological cycles. Of course, like from people like me, I'm a production engineer, I have a tendency to look at the technological cycle. And always when we have multicultural discussions, people always bring this to remember, but it's not only technological, we need to look at the biological too. So this is a good reference if you want to go deep in your projects as well. And here are some other examples of concepts and tools and frameworks that can be used. Life cycle assessment. Our university, there I could go deep in this topic, was super interesting. It's one kind of tool that some engineers, we can study this usually too. So it's something interesting to look at the whole life cycle and mention what's the impact. We also have reference for certification, such as ISO 59000. The family itself is the main guidelines for business, for corporations. But we also have policy instruments that the government can apply to reduce the impact, like extended producer responsibilities. In Brazil, we don't have this case. We have reverse logistics, that is share responsibility. But this works very well in many countries in Europe, including. We also have deposit refund systems that there are few initiatives in Brazil that we can see, but in Germany, for example, it works. In Denmark, it works for a package of drinks and drinks in general. It is one possibility, but most of the people in Brazil, I've heard, people don't believe in the solutions due to waste speakers. I don't see exactly the relation, but I've heard this already. Other systems that we can design innovation, material, circularity indicators, product as a service system, and industrial symbiosis. Product as a service, I would like to add something. I mentioned before with the origin experience I had with the electric motorcycle, but also we can see this as Airbnb, Uber, that you don't need to buy a car, you don't need to buy accommodation. We use the product as a service. This is the concept, how we reduce the creation of new materials by using technology itself. So this is one kind of solution too. And sharing economy as well. So when we use bicycles that you can use for 1 hour and then another person use two, this is kind of solutions that you consider a product as a service. And we also have industrial symbiosis, that we connect different industries, and what something is a disposal for one industry can be a resource for another. So how we can connect different systems of industries to together reduce the consumption of new materials. And of course, circular platforms and panels that we can follow and get the information, and how we can connect also different stakeholders involved. So it is something super applied. So manufacturing, heavy industry, agriculture, bioeconomy, as I said, construction and built environmental, electronics. And this is why it's so complex at the same time. Because there is the connection among sectors. And sometimes what is good for one sector, the other sector, sometimes they just don't know, they don't connect, they don't talk about this challenge. And circular economy is the idea of connect all of them. So there is one initiative that we are working on, that's the taxonomy for Brazil. And we're gonna start now the part of circular economy. And what does it mean? When we look to the sectors, we need to recognize which kind of activities, so which kind of economic activities in the whole system impact directly in circular economy. So we have this full year of work now to bring together the sector to discuss and say, oh, when we talk about maintenance, it's always circular economy. So all the activities that we mention maintenance, we can classify it as circular economy. In the opposite way, all the consumption of petrol or stuff are not. So that's the idea of how we can look all the activities we have in our economy and identify which kind of them in which kind of sector are connected to circular economy too. And also energy and mobility. In general lines, we also see as sustainability, because we talk about economic, social, environmental, and the opportunities we can have if we understand and have more data about this topic. So it is a key activity for social inclusion. We can see not only waste speakers that everyone here might know, but also when we talk about the person who was working in a small place to repair, for example, electronics. It is a kind of circular economy activity. Which kind of leasing that we have, or rent, equipment, all of these activities we can consider and include and promote and create more jobs. So this is something very important for the social inclusion, different groups. Resource security, we see this discussion for a long time. This year, last year we had COP30 in Belém, and it was also something very complex to discuss. waste reduction that everybody knows, emissions, job creation, and economic growth. So as long as we understand what is circular economy and how we can promote this, we see that's the way for sustainable production and consumption. But of course, there are many challenges. We have this coordination and justice with this cross-sector that I mentioned before. Infrastructure and technology, we can see the difference among countries, which kind of technology can be applied in other countries that we just don't have yet. Policy and regulation. Now we are starting this process. It's kind of the beginning, so this changes country by country. Finance and incentives. So one of the biggest problems that I have in the startup I work, that we couldn't prove that we were like a circular economy business model that deserve incentives differently than linear economy. So this is something that how we can talk with banks to change, to adjust, to include requirements that mention circularity. This is the goal. How we can promote solutions that already exist, but they don't get the investment yet. So the idea is to work on this, to improve and grow even more. And culture and awareness that some people don't even know what it is and how they can contribute with circular economy. Maybe this is the beginning. So, as I mentioned before, we have this National Circular Economy Strategy in Brazil, and is divided in 5 topics. And in the project I work, we have activities in all of them. They have in the plan to implement the strategy. The plan has 71 actions to achieve circular economy in Brazil. And of course, we cannot do all of them at the same time, but then these 5 groups that we can coordinate activities and different responsibles. Next week, we have the National Forum to together discuss and move forward in the plan and the activities that we're planning. So we are really involved with the decision maker in Brazil and which kind of solutions and discussions we need to have to improve. And about our project, quickly, we have these 4 dimensions. So we talk about policy, public policy in general, which kind of regulations, law, and norms that we need to create to improve the process itself, to follow and support also the ministries. So one of the interesting things that I'm working on is in the monitoring system. So we're developing which kind of indicators we can measure how is circular economy in Brazil. So we can bring from different database, different topics, waste, consumption, investment, innovation, and how we can follow and have the first numbers to have a baseline in Brazil, and then keep going to understand the reality. So this is one thing in this policy instruments, but also with new business models, which kind of circular business models we have, or even the companies who already exist for a long time, but they don't apply yet circularity, which kind of activities we can promote and work together and turn those companies more circular. And this is not only in the industry, but also thinking about the biological cycle as well. So this is one of the activities.
Okay, let's go. Please take your seats quickly. And just so you guys know, each team has 30 minutes to present, and those 30 minutes include also time for questions and answers, and et cetera, et cetera. So be aware of that. Yo, 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 let's sit down, please. Yeah, you need to relax. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Tem mousezinho?
Mouse, mas eu não sei usar ele direito, não. Ele sempre dá uma bugada.
Então se você puder, eu sei. Tá de boa, acho que tá de boa, só pra começar. Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Antonio. I'm the current PM for the data management system, and we are going to talk a little bit about what we've prepared this week that we're going to be building in the next semester. So please, Luisa. So we need to understand a little bit about DMS, like why are we doing what we are doing? Mostly because we talk to the main stakeholders, and there's a lack of trust between managers and way speakers, lack of motivation, lack of negotiation powers for the cooperatives, and lack of direct participation of the way speakers in design. So by looking at all those problems, we are trying to understand how are we going to bring them to the conversation and get everything that they want and need, especially. So our goal was to minimize the trust issues between way speakers and managers, and then anonymize selling price for all cooperatives and enable collective selling of recycled material. Some of you were at the visit this morning, and you saw how Centcop works and how it operates as a breaker between the cooperatives themselves and the buyers. So we want to normalize that as well for cooperatives that are outside of Centcop, so they can have some sort of bigger negotiation price between themselves and the buyers. And how are we doing this?
And it will include a base with business logic, automated testing, and full database communication. Product 1 focuses on supporting multiple cooperatives in a single and enabling them to sell collectively their recycled materials. And also the system will automatically distribute the earnings between the cooperatives, and also anonymize prices to ensure trust and hopefully give some negotiation powers to the cooperatives.